Alright, today's little rant, shall we say, lesson, if you will, has to do with the media and talents. I'm actually probably going to read a little Bible stuff to you, too. First off, the media. There was a story, I saw the press conference with President Barack Hussein Obama last night, and one, I'm really happy that we actually have a president who is articulate and can think. He's also, this is funny, he's also a cusser. I don't know if you saw it. He said, he was talking about some numbers, and he was like, yeah, those numbers were pulled out of, I think he said thin air, what he was going to say with my ass. Anyway, he cusses. Welcome to it. He also smokes, because he's actually a real person with flaws. Doesn't act like he doesn't have any. Which gives me a great deal of confidence, because people who don't think they have any flaws, that's, well, one of their biggest ones, and there's probably some more. So what happened, and I saw this, and this is actually a little bit more of a demonstration, more a data point, if you will, on why Fox News sucks so bad. They had the press conference, and one of the questions, you know, they ranged a little bit, and Obama got to go off like he likes to, 'cause he's a smart man, he likes to talk, likes to explain things to people and understand the severity of the situation. The severity of our economic situation is actually quite dire. That's the right word for it. Media's not going to really be honest with you about this because they can't be honest. They're kind of, well, let me talk to you about what happened. So anyway, Joe Biden, vice president's talking to a bunch of Democrats and saying, look, we've got some serious problems facing our country, a lot of them. Like serious, like collapsing empire type problems. And he says, you know, we're going to try everything we can, but, you know, and he picked it in his Biden way. He said there's a 30% chance it's just not going to work, even if, you know, we do everything. Now, he's talking about the country as a whole and all the problems that we face, talking about the enormity of these problems. So Wolf Blitzer, who is pretty much retarded, he works for CNN, by the way, so CNN sucks too. Don't think that just because I'm bashing Fox, I think CNN is good. I think our whole media system is horribly broken. And I'll get to that in a minute as to why, but so Wolf Blitzer takes this quote out of context, which is what a lot of these people do to stir up emotion, and says that he's talking about the stimulus package only, and that it's only going to, you know, have a 70% chance of success, which is actually a pretty good chance, by the way. I'd bet on that pretty much every day if I had good odds. So Blitzer takes this out of context. All the right-wing blogs go nuts, saying, look, it's not going to work, blah, 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 we want to fail, we want our country to die, no more, let's cut taxes and go to another war, because that's genius. That, by the way, was conservative thinking last 4 or 5 years, 6 years, cut taxes, go to war, print out money, it'll be fine. And then it wasn't fine, because people realized we didn't have that money and we're just printing it up, and then a bunch of things happened very, very quickly in our economy, and a whole bunch of that money that we had made up disappeared. And now there's just not there. It's gone. Kind of like, well, I like my place. Hopefully I'll have it for another week. Anyway, so Fox then goes and asks Obama this question about this 30% thing. And Obama is too nice to say, look, that's fucking retarded. That's a stupid question that you're taking you're taking a quote out of context. 2 people from move to the situation where it was actually described. And so he kind of gave Biden a little brush off and says, I don't know what he was talking about. Mainly because nobody else who's been talking about what Joe said actually knew what he was talking about, which was the countries that our problem faces as a whole. The economic problem being one of the major ones, which was caused by really some retarded fiscal policy, which we've been following for a while. And now it's coming home to roost. And, well, you know, sow bitter seeds, you reap a bitter harvest. And we've been sowing really nasty seeds. And that's why it kind of tastes like shit. So, one of the reasons the media won't tell you this, and because they don't really like logic. They don't like to think. They don't like to make you think. Because thinking for a lot of Americans is painful. It hurts. And, oh gosh, these ideas. Turn the channel. So what they do is get a nice, good-looking person to sit in front of you and tell you what you want to hear. And say, oh yeah, no, you're great. Actually, and Fox is probably the worst on this. CNN's pretty bad too. Oberman's a joke, really. He's a funny joke, I guess, sometimes. I don't know, I don't really watch much TV news because I know what it is. And it's about basically not telling you what's going on. Which is, actually, if you want to hear the news for the day, like of the world news that might affect you sometime, it maybe takes 15 or 20 minutes. Maybe. And they've got 24 hours to fill. Because once you get basically the uplink and you get enough people watching, you can make a lot of money just by getting people all emotional instead of logical, and then getting them involved, and then they'll sit there and then watch, and then getting them high in emotion is great for the advertisers, because then the advertisers come in and take that emotion and basically attach it to a brand name, and that's basically how our media system works. They're not giving you information, they're selling you to advertisers. That's kind of the joke on you, by the way. If you watch a lot of TV news, you're the product. I don't know if you guys realize that. It's kind of one of those secrets. It's kind of an open secret, but they don't really talk about it on the news. They also don't talk about how badly like the media and the cable industry is ripping you off and how much you're paying these people. Because you're paying for all these channels every day, even if you don't watch them, even if you don't care about them, even if you hate them, you're actually still paying them money. Lots of money. And it's kind of, at this point, there's actually enough people out there, and I'm kind of one of them, by the way, who see the whole system as bullshit. See that there's certainly a pretty easy way to get around the system, but it involves actually paying someone to do work, like individually, as opposed to just putting it on the bill at the end of the month and saying, why is our cable bill going up again? Did you see CNN's hologram technology? That's what you're paying for now. So instead of having 40 or 50 people out there like me doing stuff good on a variety of topics, you have holograms, which provide you absolutely no value, no informational value. They look kind of cool, and they kind of, that's whatever. So that's kind of the way our media system works. Now, real quick, I think I've got like 2 or 3 minutes left on my 10-minute thing. This is part of the problem with our economy right now, and there's actually a parable in the Bible about this. It's called the parable of the talents. This guy, this master, comes home, and before he left, he'd given his servants a variety of talents. And actually, it's not talents as in like I can dance and sing talents. This is one of the things that's been lost in translation over the years. Talents are actually money, and they're a representation of work, like a day's wage. It's how countries that don't really go into the whole crazy interest thing value money is work, a day's work. And I think a talent was like a serious amount of work. There's different ways that they've calculated it out according to Wikipedia. But a lot of it, let me see, what was it? So, I mean, it's like, it could be up to like a year's worth of work. It would be like a talent. A year's worth of work, hard labor. Which according to these Mexicans working outside is probably about 15 or 20 grand. So, master comes back home and gave one guy 5 talents, another guy, like 2 or 3, and then one guy 1. The guy he gave 5, he's, invested it, gotten some people working. He's like, yeah, here you go, here's 10, we made some good stuff. The other one comes back and he's like, did the same thing, only had 3, here's 6 though, did alright. And then he gets to the final servant who only had given 1 talent. And that servant, was like, oh, well, I've only got this much, I've got to save it. Puts it and buries it in the ground. Master comes home and he's like, yeah, you could have at least, been evil and gotten some interest on that money in the bank, but you decided not to use it and you decided to bury it. So give me that back. Fuck out of my house. That's what's happening right now. A lot of the people in the American economy are acting like that third servant. Now is the time to step up and invest and put the money to work. Really, it is, because as you sit there and hold on to it, it's going to continue to trickle away and disappear. I think through inflation, basically, because they really need to start putting up some more money to get things flowing again, and that's the way you do it. Oh, and one quick final point. We cut taxes before, and it didn't create any jobs, because it gave all the money to the rich people who were like, we've got money, don't really need any more workers, I'm going to give it to these guys on Wall Street so they can make me more money. Which they couldn't do really in any appreciable manner, because they were competing against people like Madoff who were like, oh, I can show you great returns. Just, tell your friends about it. Built this big pyramid scheme they were competing with, and to try and compete with the pyramid scheme, they did a bunch of stuff that didn't work, and so it made the whole thing into a big pyramid scheme, which then crashed and all the talents disappeared. And that's where we are now, in a land of disappearing talents.